Hi, I'm the Reverend Tracy Jessup. This is a short examen that I hope you find useful. The daily examen is a technique of prayerful reflection on the events of the day in order to detect God's presence and discern God's direction for us. It's an ancient practice in the Church that can help us to see God's hand at work in our whole experience. This is a version of the 5-step daily examen that St. Ignatius practiced. To become aware of God's presence. To review the past day with gratitude. Pay attention to your emotions. Choose a feature of the day and pray for it. Look forward to tomorrow. Let's just begin by gently loosening up around our neck particularly and our head. Rotate your neck to move the muscles and push any stiffness away, relieving any tension you might have. Make sure you're sitting comfortably and away from distractions where you can be undisturbed. In this examen, I want to help you think about the very different situations we find ourselves in during this time of social distancing, of shielding, and of isolation. I want you to think about connections, relationships, and separation. Begin by resting in God's presence. Take a moment to still your heart and mind. You might want to place your hands open, facing upwards, in a gesture that you are open and receptive to hear what God has to say to you in this time. Let's spend some time in gratitude. Cast your mind over the moments where you've been blessed in the past few days. Those moments that you've been grateful for. Without too much thought, you'll be able to come up with at least 3 things. It might have been the sun streaming through a window, the simple pleasure of hearing the birds outside, or turning on a tap and being thankful for the flow of water. Take a moment to consider how your relationships have changed. Try to be honest about how you're feeling about these changes. Things have changed enormously. Don't judge yourself for the way you are feeling. Be honest. Be honest with yourself and acknowledge how you are feeling. Recognize the emotions you feel. You don't need to overanalyze, and you don't need to judge. Pay attention and listen to where God may be speaking. Begin by resting in God's presence. Start with your relationship with God and mind. Where has God felt present? Your hands open, facing upwards. Where have the life-giving, affirming and comforting moments been lately to say to you in this time? It may be that everything is overwhelming. Let's spend some time in gratitude. You feel overwhelmed and it's hard to feel God's presence over the moments where you've been blessed in the past few days. Those moments that you've been grateful for. If God feels absent, that's okay. Without too much thought. God is still to come up with at least 3 things. You are still a beloved child of God. It might have been the sun streaming through a window. The simple pleasure of hearing the birds outside. Remember that God wants to be part of our life, turning on a tap, not only in the easy times, for the flow of perhaps water. Even more when times are harder. Take a moment to consider how your relationships have changed. Take some time now to think about the moments of connection with other people, about how you're feeling about these changes. Even your pets. Things have changed enormously. What have you experienced lately? Even the smallest interactions need to be noticed. Be honest. You may have exchanged a smile over the garden fence and acknowledge how you are feeling. Cross the road to keep your distance with an embarrassed nod. You don't need to wave to someone through the window, and you don't need to judge. Stroked the dog. Pay attention, or listened to a cat purring. Where God may be speaking. Who is it that you're reaching out to now? Where do you feel a growing sense of connection with someone? Take a moment to still your heart. Which relationships are life-giving? You might want to place your hands open, facing upwards. Give all your thoughts and feelings on these to God, and receptive to hear what God has to say to you. Ask for God's perspective on your thoughts. Let's spend some time in gratitude. Cast your mind over the moments where you've been blessed in the past few days. Those moments that you've been grateful for. Without too much thought, you'll be able to consider these three things and relationships which you have felt harder or more distant lately. It might have been the sun streaming through. Some relationships can be tricky. The simple pleasure of hearing the birds. Some relationships may be held on ice while we all focus on getting by in these different and challenging times. There may be some relationships you are consciously avoiding at the moment. Which relationships might be draining? How your relationships have changed. Try to be honest about how you're feeling being about apart and help you to realise how important someone is to you. Try to be honest. Don't judge yourself for what you're feeling, the way you are feeling, and why. Be honest. Tell God about it. Be honest with yourself and acknowledge how you are feeling. Recognize the emotions you feel. You don't need to overanalyze, and you don't need to judge. Pay attention and listen to where God may be speaking. God made us to be creative and imaginative people. Even in this time of separation and isolation, begin by resting in God's presence. What is one way you can maintain meaningful connection to others? Take a moment to still your heart and mind. This might be directly through technology. Place your hands open, facing upwards, or by intentionally focusing open and giving your attention to what God has to say to you in this time. You could pray for someone. Consider a few ways that you can intentionally connect with others. Cast your mind over the moments where you've been blessed in the past few days. Those moments that you've been grateful for. Without too much thought, you'll be able to come up with at least three things. Think through your relationships, thoughts, and feelings streaming through you have considered in this prayer time. The simple pleasure of hearing the birds outside. Which thoughts and feelings have you felt most strongly? Turning on a tap, being thankful for the flow of water. Take a moment to consider how your relationships have changed. Pause and reflect on where you are being invited to grow from at this moment. Things have changed enormously. Don't judge yourself. Where do you need God's healing? Be honest. Be honest with yourself. Where is there cause for praise and celebration? Recognize the emotions you feel. Listen to where God is speaking to you, and try to consider the positive causes for praise as well as any negatives. Pay attention and listen to where God may be speaking. Begin by resting in God's presence. Take a moment to still your heart and mind. Be open to receiving inspiration through the rest of the day, in a gesture, or even as you sleep, and receptive to hear what God as you wait to hear what God has to say to you, and how God will work in you. Let's spend some time in gratitude. Cast your mind over the moments where you've been blessed in the past few days. Those moments that you've been grateful for. As we bring bring our time to an end without too much thought, I ask you to be able to come up with at least 3 things. Join in the prayer that Jesus gave us. Might it be the sun streaming through a window
art in heaven.
Hallowed be thy name. Of hearing the birds outside.
Thy kingdom come. Thy will be
Turning
done
on a tap
on earth
be
as it
thankful
is in
for
heaven.
the flow of water.
Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us.
Take a moment
And
to
lead us
consider how
not
your
into
relationships
temptation,
have changed.
but deliver us from evil. For
Try to be
thine is the
honest about
kingdom,
how you're feeling
the
about these
power,
changes.
and the glory,
Things
forever
have
and
changed
ever.
enormously.
Amen.
Don't judge yourself for the way you are feeling.
You might
Be
like
honest.
to sit
Be honest
just
with
for the
yourself
final couple of
and
minutes
acknowledge how you are
and
feeling.
reflect on the things that you've fought through,
Recognize the emotions you feel.
lifting them to
You don't
God,
need to overanalyze, and you don't need to judge.
asking for Him to work in you.
Pay attention and listen to where God may be speaking.
May the Lord bless us and watch over us. May the Lord make His face shine upon us and be gracious to us.
Begin by resting in
May
God's
the
presence.
Lord look kindly on us
Take
and
a
give
moment
us
to
His
still your
peace.
heart and mind. You might want to
Amen.
place your hands open, facing upwards, in a gesture that you are open and receptive to hear what God has to say to you in this time.